everyone, and welcome to today's interview, which is actually live in the flesh with dear Lynley, who has come here to visit me in Nelson, which is super cool, I think. Lynley, do you want to tell us a little bit about your condition, type 1 probably diabetes, diagnosed at a very young age? Well, not very young for type 1 actually, but...
Yes, when I was 17, I wanted to go in the Air Force, and you have to do all this medical stuff. And unfortunately, they discovered sugar in my urine. So at 17 years old, that was a pretty big shock. They told me I was type 1. They left me in hospital for 2 weeks, taught me how to inject into an orange and then my leg. What else do you want to know, Pam?
What happened then? Did you change anything in your diet? Were you just, what do you do when you're 17?
I actually rebelled. I rebelled really bad. It's just 17, you're beginning your life. My job that I thought I was going to get was gone out the window. I need to look at the camera. Yeah, so I ate junk. I didn't change anything. They tried scare tactics. I ate whole cakes of king-size chocolate. But I did come to my senses and started to think about it as actually being a benefit to me, because I learned how to think about what was going in my mouth. And I've sort of been curious about why me out of all my sisters. Why was it me who got the diabetes? Why not all the others? Because I've been healthy, and I was a good old farm girl, worked like a dog, and it wasn't like I was. Yeah, just why me? Why me? So yeah, that was it really. And
life is not fair.
That is it, and it's taken me a long time to realise that life is not fair, and I feel that I've had a few ups and downs along the way, particularly in my first few years of my new married life when I was 20, and unfortunately picked the wrong person who created a lot of stress in my life. But I was quite fit and healthy, just had to control my blood sugar. But I appeared to be getting away with a lot of diet stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, like eating a little bit of too much sugar or drinking and not getting unhealthy like they told me I was going to be unhealthy. But I wasn't, I was quite healthy. But during the first 10 years of my marriage to this person, I actually had 3 miscarriages. And I just assumed that this was because of I was one of those unfortunate people that could not stay pregnant. I could get pregnant, I just couldn't stay pregnant. And then when I was 30, I got pregnant with my eldest son, and I managed to keep him until 26 and a half weeks I was, and he was born early, had to be delivered. But at that time, my marriage was starting to fall to bits, and just because we really weren't the right people for each other. But yeah, and then after that, after all that had finished, I met another man who was really just perfect for me, and he built me up and he made me feel great. And we got pregnant. Well, I got pregnant, and I said to him, "Oh, don't be surprised if this doesn't make it, And he said, "No, you'll be right." And I went to the GP and all these other specialists for pregnancy. And I says, "No, you'll be right." And I just sailed through that pregnancy. I had no issues, absolutely no issues. There was actually one lady at Christmas time, which was a month before my son was born, and she said, "I didn't even know you're pregnant. You don't look pregnant," because I was quite little. My tummy was quite little. And when I actually went into labour, I had no idea I was in labour, but I was. and my son was delivered with a few issues, but with me having the issues, not him. But when I look back, I think it was the stress. It was the stress in my first marriage and my diabetes that was affecting it. And I didn't actually realise that. What's this dog up to? She's looking at the window.
She's looking at birds, I think.
It was just Who was that?
That was like this one, of
you?
course. Yeah, I told you she's growling at everything. Sorry for the interruption.
but what I realised is that the diabetes and the stress were not good for each other, because my second husband was totally different, and yeah, so that was sort of the early part of my life. And what do you want to know now, Pam?
No, I was just thinking, during your pregnancies, do you have any recollection about what your blood sugar was doing at the time? Because I imagine that the stress, obviously cortisol isn't great, but
yeah,
that also affects your blood sugar levels, etc.
I vaguely remember that because I was pregnant, I tried to keep, because it's not just me, it was another little person. I tried to keep my blood sugar really good, but I still slipped a bit, and I was fit. Like I played indoor cricket and did a lot of walking. I used to walk 8 k's a day, which was 4 k's to work and 4 k's home. But now when I look back, I think I got away with a lot of stuff that like other type 1 diabetics, because that's what they told me I had, didn't get away with, and I wonder whether I am or not. But I've never had the antibody, the tests that you have to prove one way or another, and they don't seem willing to want to redo it. And it doesn't really matter, in all honesty. I still got to take insulin. So I think I was pretty okay. It was an ongoing struggle, but because we're having to look back a lot of years now. We're talking 30 odd years nearly. In fact, we are talking 30 years. That I think I was okay, but I wasn't 100% perfect diabetic.
Okay. So what other diets did you try throughout the years before you got to where you are now?
I tried veganism.
Yeah.
But that was just crap veganism, and that really did not do my health any good. My blood sugars were just uncontrolled. And then probably in my late 40s, I was quite into fitness and that sort of thing, and I was watching or listening to a podcast, and they mentioned Dr. Richard Bernstein and how he was a type 1 diabetic, and he was, he had a low carb protocol. So I researched him and bought his book, and that was the start of a low carb journey, which totally changed things around for me. And yes, and the difference was within a week, probably within a day. And my blood sugar went from sort of fighting to keep it below 7, because we work in the 4 to 7 range here in New Zealand, and just to getting chronic low blood sugar because of the fact that I wasn't having the carbohydrate really. So I thought, yes, this is it, and I found Dr. Bernstein's story very similar to mine, that in my head, I believed that like us diabetics, were entitled to normal blood sugars, and why shouldn't we have them? And we didn't need all these other drugs. I needed insulin because I didn't make it, but I didn't need other drugs to help me be there. And yes, but and also because of my farming background, I don't believe in supplements, because I was always the person who says, why is that animal getting sick? What's it not getting in its normal diet and its natural diet? Why is it getting sick? And my second husband, he was very much the same way with his thinking. So I was always curious, and so that sort of started this lifelong questioning the medical thing, because half the time what they told me was not working, and so I found it out for myself. And I remember being told, but you need carbohydrates, you need to have this, and it just made it so hard. And when I started Dr. Bernstein, it was so easy. It was just so easy. And so that's how I got to the low carb thing. But anyway.
Yeah.
More questions.
More questions. Yes, I want to know when you swapped over to his protocol, how did that go? I kind of can imagine that it must have been a blood sugar roller coaster to start with when you didn't know how to.
No, it wasn't a roller coaster. It was just a crash.
Okay. Sorry.
I did find that I was thirsty, because your body must be getting rid of fluid that it's been hanging on to. I sort of had chronic thirst, and I thought, oh, it's not my blood sugar because it's normal or low. And I thought, so it's not that, because that's normally when your blood sugar gets high, you want to drink because that's just what happens. But it wasn't a roller coaster. It was really quite easy. But over time, after about 3 or 4 years, I became very sensitive to any extra carbohydrate that I consumed. It would just spike it. And I just tested with the finger prick, and I remember my doctor, I asked him, I says, I want enough strips to be able to test 10 a day. And the doctor I had at the time, he said, oh, but you don't need to do that. And it might have been a she, actually. And but she gave me the script, and I tested up to 10 times a day because I needed to see where my blood sugar was going. And if you don't know where it's going, then how do you know what affects it? So, it was just, it's a very sharp learning curve, I tell you.
So did you do this totally on your own when you changed your diet, or did you inform your doctor as you supposedly should?
Hell no, you don't tell your doctor anything. I just thought, I'm my own experiment and I'll just do it. And I was willing to take the risks either way. And because I was sort of getting up towards 50 at this stage, I was thinking, I'm running out of my youth that'll keep me healthy because your body starts to age, and then your hormones start playing up because in my case, because I'm a woman, and so I just did it on my own, and the internet was sort of starting to get a bit more friendly to me because I'm not computer savvy, and I found out a lot. I did a lot of research on the internet, and in the last year I've done heaps and heaps and heaps, and followed Dr. Bickman and Sean Baker and Bart, dare we say, don't tell them too loud. And I'm more about how does the human body work? How does it work at the cellular level? And I remember telling my GP, who's fabulous now, because I've got a really good one, open-minded, and he said, I'm an oddity, because most diabetics don't want to know that. They just want to know what they've got to take and what they've got to eat. And I said, I need to know these things because I can't fix it if I don't know what's going on. So that's how I work, really.
Good. So you didn't get the advice here to just try it if you're type 1 diabetic, go to your doctor.
I
did you
didn't get that.
No. Did you take your blood glucose excessively when you swapped your diet, just to make sure that you weren't getting too
probably I probably did, but remember that I was a farmer, so I couldn't spend all day doing it. I had work to do outside, so I did test heaps and heaps of times, and I did look at these things that are meant to read your blood sugar, but 10 or whatever years it was ago, they weren't common, and even now in New Zealand you can't get them. You've got to pay for it. So what would a normal day of eating have looked like for you when you were following his protocol, roughly? Bacon and eggs in the morning, and probably lunch was probably a can of fish and some salad. I had quite a bit of salad, and dinner would have been some sort of meat and green veg, mostly green veg. And coffee. Unfortunately, I like flat white coffee, and the milk is just diabolical. It just spikes my blood sugar. So
almost a ketogenic diet, but maybe not so high in fat.
Probably, I was probably more into the leaner side of things, and I stayed reasonably slim. I still, according to my GP and everyone else overweight,
Yeah.
you know. But hey, that's just me. I've been like that since I was 20 years old, and they kept telling me you're obese. You know, I wasn't obese, but on the scale of what the humans are supposed to be,
Yeah.
I was on the higher side of normal.
Sure, but working
Yeah.
on a farm is hard work, so you probably had an
Yeah.
amount of muscle mass there as well, I think.
Yeah, and my second husband always says, he says you're a lot stronger than what you look. So that was a bonus, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So then you did this for 4.5 years?
4
and
years,
then-
probably, yeah, about 4 years, maybe slightly longer. My second husband got motor neuron disease, and I remember thinking, here's him with an incurable disease that there's nothing can help him, and here's me pushing the boundaries and just not really focusing on keeping my disease on the straight and narrow when I could, you know, I could stay healthy if I put the effort in. So that sort of kept me more straight and narrow until unfortunately he passed away, and I was pretty good for about a year after that, but then it just sort of all starts catching up, and depression started sneaking in, and poor me, that sort of thing. And before I knew it, I was sliding downhill on a fast trip to death, probably.
That sounds bright.
well, yeah, but it was just something I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your doctor said something interesting to you.
Yes, about was actually October last year, and I was feeling pretty sorry for myself, and my blood glucose, HbA1c was 67, which was, what did we work out?
So 67 is about 8.4-ish percent, maybe slightly less.
Yeah, and my blood pressure was 180 over something. I can't remember what the bottom number was.
High.
And yeah, it was under 100, I know that. And there were other issues, and I was getting fatter. And my nurse had taken these blood tests, and she'd gone up to deal with them. And the doctor sat on the bed opposite me, and he says, "What the fuck are you doing, Lynley?" And I thought, help! He's swearing at me, and that sort of, I thought, oh yeah, what am I doing? But that was enough for me to suddenly think, oh, it's bad when your doctor swears at you. And I have a good relationship with my doctor, so yeah. So that sort of changed me a little bit, and I thought, oh, I've got to fix this. Someone's got to fix it, and it's got to be me. So I was watching a YouTube video with Amber Ahern, and she mentioned it was a low carb down under YouTube thing, and she mentioned the carnivore diet, and what she was saying seemed, oh no, that can't be right. So I researched it, and I was like, yeah, let's give this a go. So in early December last year, I thought I did. So I started doing it. I was a bit slack about it, but it was mostly all meat and animal things. And the first thing I noticed is that my allergies all went away. I had no allergies, and I'd been getting worse and worse as time went by, with just dizziness and runny eyes, but it was the allergies that disappeared. So that's the first thing. So I thought, yes, this is something.
Yeah.
And my blood sugar just dropped like a stone, and it stayed dropping. And I had to cut my insulin. In a week, I cut my insulin down to probably a third of what I'd been having.
A week. So how did those interlink compare to the more low carb keto-ish diet, the Bernstein's protocol?
It's probably less.
Less.
It's less, but it's more. I know that if I take so much insulin, then it doesn't matter how much meat and or whatever, it's going to stay quite stable. There is the odd time that later, like several hours later, it'll go up, but I know I know I just got to take a little, a unit or so of insulin, and and then it's easy. Like it's easy. It's easier than the low carb, much easier.
Yeah.
And I feel good. I'm 60 years old. Believe it or not, I feel like I'm 40. I actually feel better than I was 40 when I was 40.
That's great. And now your latest HbA1c was 42. And
42, yes.
Has been 40.
Has been 40.
And that annoys you?
Yes, but Pim assures me it's something to do with being carnivore.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed because I now have a sensor on my arm, a Libra Freestyle, I think they're called. And I've been wearing it since the beginning of April, which is not cheap here in New Zealand. But it's great because it sort of lets me know how things affect me. And it has an app. The app on my phone says my HbA1c should be 35. And when the nurse came back to me just a month or so ago, less than a month, she said it's 42, because I'd had a bet with her and I said, I reckon it's going to be 35. And she said, no, I'm going to say 40. And she won, and I was so annoyed. But we'll get better. We'll get better.
Yeah. I do think, I'm sure that you can get it down further again.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because if you have blood sugars in the normal range that most non-diabetics have, the majority of the time, it will probably go down.
Yeah.
However, many carnivores do have elevated HbA1c as compared to the blood sugars because their red blood cells just live longer and they have more time to get allocated.
Yeah.
But 35, I think you can get there. Absolutely. Next time.
I'm sure. I'm not worried about it. 40 to me is
That's amazing.
Good. And I feel good. And the other thing that I've noticed, and I was speaking to Pim about it earlier, is that I've always had stiff, hard muscles.
Oh, yes.
And,
this is super interesting, by the way.
And I just thought it was me. Like, I've been like it since I was in my 20s. Never thought anything of it. The only time they improved was when my second husband and I went to the gym every other day, and we actually worked those muscles really hard. Even though we were farming and doing quite hard work, they actually softened up. But since I've been eating this carnivore, my muscles have got supple and looser, and I don't seem to have that tightness. I still have stiffness, which is gradually getting better, but it was actually the feel of my muscles being soft, not like bricks. And whenever I've had massages over the years, the first thing the person who's given the massage or whatever says to me, "Oh, your back's like a board. It's like concrete." And I thought, well, that's just me. And they're saying, relax. And I say, I am relaxed. But I wonder whether it was the glucose sticking, it sticks to the blood proteins to get the HbA1c. Maybe it does the same to the muscle thing. So that's my theory anyway. And I'm not a scientist like Bart or anyone else who knows these things. It's just
I don't know these things.
No, but
I'm very intrigued now.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm interested in it too, and
so if you guys know anything about it, or someone who actually knows about such things, let me know, and I'll try to get them on the channel, because this is very interesting.
Yeah, I actually remember reading quite a few years ago. I don't know whether it was in a Bernstein thing or it was another diabetic book that I was reading, because I've always been very hungry for news on diabetes and how to help it, about some long-term diabetics actually have their flesh is almost like cooked meat. So at the time I didn't really understand it, but now when I think about it, that is what it feels like. It's like your muscles are that, like if you push a well-cooked piece of meat, it's actually quite hard. Like it's not spongy, like a rare piece of steak. Sorry.
That's all right. Just imagine what my legs would feel like.
But I don't have that now, and so.
Well, that's. I'm still like, wow, really?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm like. I'm thinking, is this real? Is this really real? Let's just see. Am I imagining this? But I'm not. It's
I believe you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what else? Your blood sugars are great. Your allergies disappeared completely.
Yep.
No allergies.
Yep.
I envy you. Her muscles softened. Most people would probably rather want them hard.
But there's a difference between toned and
yes,
cooked.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want cooked muscles. We just want toned muscles.
Yeah.
And any other health effects that you've seen from
my mental thing, apart from the fact that every now and then I'm waffling on as I was with Pim and everything just disappears. But I'm just chill. I'm just chill about anything. Nothing stresses me. I don't have the depression that I was sinking into in October last year, and I don't feel that I have to fight it. And so it's just easy. Like my mood's good, and I laugh at stuff that I never would have laughed at once before. Life is not serious. It's fun.
Exactly, life is fun.
Only unfortunate thing is I'm now 60 and the path's a bit shorter, so I've got a lot to jam in.
Well, just have more fun then.
But then what is fun? What is fun, Pim? What is fun?
This is fun.
Yeah, but what is other fun? You know.
Dogs are fun.
Yeah, dogs are fun.
Fun.
Animals are fun.
Yeah, good girl.
Yeah. And apparently I'm quite spoilt to have this little girl sitting on my knee.
She sat on a couple of my friends' laps, but not ever the first time she's seen them. So Lynley must be very, very special.
Because I like animals and they know it.
Yeah, I know many people who like animals, but even when she came in, usually they go haywire. There was a little bit of barking, mainly from the little one. Yeah.
I ignored them. I just accepted them.
Yeah, you just
I didn't make a fuss of them. So they thought, oh, well, I'll have to make the first move.
And then they just thought, meh, okay, whatever. We'll just go and sniff here instead. Never happens.
So now look, on my knee.
No.
She says, I'm getting bored now. I might go and sit on mum.
Yeah.
But
it's much cooler when she sits there. Because I'm still amazed. It's super cool.
So anything else you need to ask me, Pim? Anything you want to know?
Can I put the dogs in my will to go to you if I die?
I'm going to die before you. You're a bit younger than me, I think. So.
A little bit, just a little bit. A day of eating now when you're a carnivore. What does it look like? What's your go-to foods?
Depends on how I feel in the morning. Like if I'm full of energy when I get out of bed, which is not that often these days because it's winter. Sometimes I won't even eat until mid-afternoon, and then it'll be steak or lamb or something like that. And a bottle of, sometimes if I'm really craving something sweet, instead of going for the old sweet stuff, I actually eat a little bottle, I think it's 125 grams of straight sour cream. And it's because I don't eat sweet stuff, it actually tastes sweet to me. And, that's enough to satisfy that craving. And but when I'm thinking about food, in the morning I'll have bacon and eggs, which or just scrambled eggs, which I just do with butter and eggs and salt, plenty of salt.
That's the way to go then.
But one of the things I have to tell the people out there is I discovered the other day that maybe I'm taking a bit much insulin, which is still only a very small amount for doing long 20k walks. Because I thought I'm going to do this fueled as a carnivore. I'm not going to. I always have my jelly beans because they're my fix the low blood sugar thing. But the morning, 3 days ago, I went for this big long hike through the native bush here in New Zealand, and I thought, right, I'm going to just take a little round of brie cheese. Brie, is it brie? Brie. And that'll be my lunch because I won't need anything because I'm going to be working on ketones. I didn't test my ketones before I went, so I don't know whether I was in ketosis. But for breakfast I had 4 scrambled eggs and off I went. At about the 8k mark, my blood sugar started dropping and it got to 3.2, and I thought, and it just kept it just sort of kept getting lower and lower, and I thought, oh, I better eat something. So I had a jelly bean, and it sort of brought it up. Not a lot, but I thought I'm getting to the 10k mark because that's what my goal was. It was actually 12k, but I thought, oh, I can't because I might run out of jelly beans. So I sort of tried to walk in this low blood sugar state, I was okay. Like, I didn't feel like I had low blood sugar. But then when it got down to the 3.2, sort of more than not, I did start to stumble, and I thought, oh, maybe I should. So I took some more jelly beans, but I did it. Like, I did it, and I could never have done that last year. I would have felt that low blood sugar at about 4.5, and I would have been popping those jelly beans. But I actually walked quite a bit in the low blood sugar state. But then when I got home from this 20k walk, I was so hungry, and I just ate. I ate pork chops and can't remember what else, but it was quite a bit of food. But it was all carnivore stuff. And my blood sugar kept staying low, right down in the low 4 for most of the night. But the next day it just rebelled and it went up. So I think the protein, I'd over-proteined and it was up. But it wasn't high up. It was, I think I got up to 9 or something, and it sort of didn't want to come down, and because I'm quite sensitive to insulin, I gave myself a couple of units of the Humalog, which is the fast-acting one, but I'm always really cautious because it tends to make me crash, make my blood sugar crash, and I got it down back to normal. So yeah, but it was surprising that what had happened the day before was affecting me the next day. So yeah. But yeah, it was quite interesting. I'm just in my own experiment.
What are you going to do next time you go for a hike? How are you going to change things?
I'm probably going to have less, whether I'm going to do a 20k hike, who knows, but I'm probably going to take less long-acting, which is the basal insulin, and just work on, I always take insulin and jelly beans with me, which are the ones from Australia, which are designed for, well, they're meant to help diabetics because they have a certain amount of glucose in them, and I always take that with me. So I would probably rely on fixing it with the insulin and the jelly beans, and not having that crash and going slightly high, really. So
you do have a goal in mind with this hiking, don't you?
Yes.
Next
year, COVID permitting, in August, I plan to go to Alice Springs and walk 248 k's on the Larapinta Trail over 16 days, which involves quite long days of walking, and it'll probably be quite warm, early August it is. So that is my goal, to train for that, and I will be 61 years old, and they've already said, are you sure that you can do it? When I said, because you have to tell them that you're, whatever health issues you have. And I said, yes. I told them a couple of wee fibs and said I've done lots of walking, which I have, but not in the last 10 years.
In my life.
Well, no, I've actually done a lot, but yeah, so that's my goal. And whereas this time last year I would have been thinking, no, that's out of my reach. I feel I can do it. I know I can do it.
And you just have to tell us who you're doing it with, and there's a different challenge in that, isn't it?
Yes, I'm actually going with my vegan sister, so we have a little bit of competition. She's younger than me, and
not diabetic.
But we're not talking about the competition because she might get offended, because she wants to prove that her diet is better than mine, and but she has less issues to worry about than me. So
yeah.
But we will see, and I'm going to beat her, don't worry. I'm going to do it. She can moan all she likes, but
you have 13 months to prepare now, roughly. Did you say August next year? Yeah,
it's not 13 months.
It's July now.
Yeah, but we're nearly halfway through.
Okay. Is it beginning of August?
It's the beginning of July. Okay. It's the beginning of August.
12 months plus.
Yes, just over 12 months. So Yeah, but that's if we're allowed to fly out of Kiwi land to Aussie land. So
yeah, so a lot more trialing going on there.
Yes, yeah. So my goal this year with my fitness, I'm doing gym stuff and trying to work out what's best insulin and food wise for me, using the carnivore diet to get me to where I want to be. And it's going to be trial and error, and I've got to do some long days, and I'm going to have to do day after day to see what works. And that's right, I've got plenty of time. I'm actually an artist by trade, so I just do what I want, when I want, how I want. No restraints. So
next winter I will be contacting you again. I will want to know everything about your training, how it's going.
If I don't answer Pim, you know that I've failed. But I'm not failing because my mindset, I'm pretty determined.
Yeah.
And usually when I set my mind to something, I stick with it. Because many years ago, my father told my auntie, he says, Lynley never finishes anything she starts. So it's been my goal throughout my life to actually finish what I start. Yeah,
good girl. So if any type 1 diabetics are watching this, what sort of advice would you give them how to get started if you're scared of things? Because you mentioned you were a little bit scared of meat causing cancer, etc. as well, which is not diabetics related actually, but
it's more to do with the fact that's probably more to do with my age and the stuff that we've had shoved at us. I mean, and we didn't have the internet, so you just believed what your doctor told you or whatever you read it, in the books that were available then. But to me, don't be frightened to be your own experiment. I mean, as long as you're not stupid, be aware of stuff, and remember Dr. Bernstein's law of small numbers. Like, small adjustments mean small mistakes, and it works the same the other way. So just go for it, because no one else is going to do it, and don't let it hold you back. And if it doesn't work, just don't do it again, and take the risk, because you're a long time dead. That's what I think. And to watch my husband actually die of a disease that was not curable, and actually be quite miserable in his last 3 months of life, because he was angry because his life was taken away from him at 56 years old. It does make one realise your life is short, so you have to do what makes you happy, and you have to actually learn to be selfish, dare I say, and selfish for yourself to make yourself happy. So
Lynley, you're an artist, and she gave me a really, really nice present when she came here. I'll take a picture of it and show it after this video so that you can see what she's doing. Are you selling your art?
Yeah, I have my own gallery.
Yeah. Can people buy it online if they want?
I do. My website is my online shop, but I'm not really. I don't update it all the time. But yeah, there's a bit on it, and I also have a Facebook page, which is my full name, Lynley Van Alphen with artist, and you don't have to be my friend to follow. You can just follow me, and I'm afraid I'm one of these people that takes videos of where I am and say, look at this, and I take photos of the art, like the paintings that I've done, and I have little blurbs about what I did and how I felt, and and quite often it's just sort of a bit of a chat, really, but in words.
Yep, we'll get those links into the video description in case someone wants to have a look.
So it's just my Facebook, and my website is my online page.
Awesome. Wow, Lynley, thank you so much for coming here.
It's all right. It was quite worth coming up to Nelson.
Well, good.